Kengi is your ugly slave, working hard in the matrix like 99.99% of the people. He works himself to death making medicine for the whole planet. His life was so boring that even the god of medicine felt sorry for him and gave him a new life as a god in another universe. He has to combat the matrix again, this time with his healing powers, and he has to do it without charging a lot for healthcare. Kengi is the most talented medical prodigy in hundreds of years. He takes it upon himself to create treatments that may cure ailments that could kill you. Kengi remembers that the doctors couldn't entirely remove the tumor from his sister's body. In the end, the physicians told his parents that there was nothing they could do to help her. This event was the sole thing that made him want to be the best pharmacist in the world. Kengi does a little experiment in the lab one night that works. He writes the medicine's recipe on his palm and goes to sleep without any paper. The next day, his helper discovers him dead in bed, which is strange. In the end, he couldn't even give that assistant a round of applause. But things don't end there. Kengi ends up in the body of a toddler. He considers for a time that these might be memories from a past existence. But when he wakes up, he sees a busted girl in a maid uniform named Charlotte. Weirdly, she calls him Master FMA, which sounds a lot like the name of a medication firm. She said that he was hit by lightning and fell into a small coma. As reality creeps in, he learns that he eventually worked himself to death and got sent to another realm. He also realizes that he couldn't applaud for most of his students after this. The maid then takes off all of his bandages and finds the sacred mark of the god of medicine. But he thinks they are burn marks from the lightning strike. Later in the hallway, FMA finds out that his family is good at medicine and pharmaceuticals. Bruno, his father, is also the Archduke and the head of the Medicinal Academy. He also has an older brother who is in college and a younger sister who reminds him of his old life. Charlotte says that nobles are different from the rest of the pack because they can do divine arts. He then walks back to his room to practice some RPG-like abilities. He starts to think about what chemicals make up water, which is strange. But then he feels something move and water starts to flow from his fingertips. He hastily runs to the nearest window and ends up shooting a lot of water into the garden. The small maid gets soaked, though. He can make a lot of things using this approach, including gold and silver, but he can't make mixtures for some reason. Charlotte takes him to the study room a little time later and tells him that his father likes to quiz him at the dinner table. He finds that the medical knowledge of this world is at least hundreds of years behind that of Earth after quickly going through some of the texts. This implies he can be sure to talk to his dad during supper. He goes over to see his relatives. He quickly sees his mother and small sister, and then his father greets him. But as Charlotte remarked, Bruno raises a very hard medical question. Falma answers the question right away, which lets him keep going with his daily studies. The next morning, Aonair Bonfoy, Bruno's personal student, starts her classes with him again. She still can't believe that Falma is being so kind when they talk. She still wants him to tie her up and make her obey to Daddy. But now that the lightning hit him, it seems like he's lost all his testosterone. Aonair goes over the 5 main aspects of divine arts and the underlying ideas behind them. This is just a quick review of what he has spoken in previous lectures. FMA uses her magic wand to make a water spear that evolves into a dragon a few moments later. Aonair loses her cool right away since one person can only use a set quantity of divine arts in their lifetime. She checks to see if FMA has any more divine arts left in him since she's worried. She gives him a device to measure his chakra and advises him to hold on to it hard, like he's going to whack off. She is shocked when he breaks the testing apparatus, which shows that he has both good and bad parts. The two of them stroll back to the estate because they have nothing else to do. Falma tells Aonair to take it easy on the trip because she is still shaken up from the earlier event. For some reason, he suddenly knows that she hurt her finger that morning. Also, the color around the impacted area changes when he figures it out. The divine eye is a power that the god of medicine has, which makes her even more scared. Aonair also says that he doesn't have a shadow, not even in broad daylight, which amazes FMA himself. Aonair gets a high temperature from the shock, so she has to skip class with FMA. In the end, Bruno makes some medicine and gives FMA instructions on how to distribute it himself. FMA realizes that the formula won't truly help Aonair with the fever, so he has to use his own expertise. She meets him inside the Bonfoy estate while wearing full body armor, thinking that FMA is coming to kill her. Aonair still thinks he wants to murder her using divine arts or a new kind of medication. even though he has made his plans apparent. After saying explicitly that he needs her to perfect the divine arts, Falma finally departs the house. Aonair, thankfully, decides to be brave and goes to the training session the next day. She takes him to a deserted island for that reason, because his unrestrained powers may clearly destroy the whole city. Falma learns more about the divine arts after days of training and clapping. He can even tell what's wrong with patients from a distance using his divine eye. He sits around the stairs and watches his servants with his magic eye, writing down all of their problems, even Charlotte's. It turns out her hands are dry. He then goes to his room and makes medicines for each servant, hoping that everyone, no matter what their social level is, can get better. He goes over and passes them out to each one a few moments later. When the servants get the medicine, they all bow down to FMA in thanks. Charlotte says that regular people can't afford the pills or the pharmacists who prescribe them. Once again, he finds a reason to keep working toward his goal of becoming the best doctor in the world. Bruno tells us a few days later that his sister Blanche has a bad case of chickenpox. He also has to leave for a sudden home call. Before he leaves, he tells FMA that he also had chickenpox, which suggests that he is immune for life. Even so, he tells him to be careful because chickenpox can sometimes infect someone twice. FMA's respect for Bruno goes up right away, because this information was only recently known on Earth. That said, FMA walks inside his hidden lab to make the simplest pharmaceutical formula he can. This treatment works miracles on Blanche's body, and in just 1 week she is better. Bruno brings Falma to his room after a few days and tells him that the Empress of the Kingdom wants their help. Bruno won't tell anyone anything about the Empress's condition, even though he got a call out of the blue. In the end, they both go to the Imperial Castle. The head court physician tells Bruno that Her Majesty Elizabeth II is becoming worse by the minute and is almost ready to die. Bruno comes to the conclusion that she is going to die after looking at her himself. Falma is now angry that these worthless bits of rubbish can only provide her anesthetic to ease her anguish. Bruno also gives Elizabeth the anesthetic, saying it's a strong drug that can cure the illness. It seems that Falma understands that none of the pharmacists there can help Elizabeth, so he has to use the power of the divine eye. The trouble is in her lungs. Elizabeth has a very bad case of TB, which is also known as the White Death. Suddenly, a small child walks into the room crying and stays by his mother's side. Falma gets angry when she sees this since she knows that the pharmacists are now going to employ astrology. Then he approaches up to Elizabeth and boldly says that there is a new kind of medicine that will help her. Bruno and the others try to stop him from talking rubbish right away. But Elizabeth reminds everyone that she is in charge of the room. That being said, she chooses to take a chance on the small ray of optimism that FMA shows. FMA uses the castle lab as his own play place when everything is said and done. He notes down the medicine's chemical makeup first because it is so complicated, and then he starts to brew it. Bruno storms into the lab like the FBI in the middle of the process and asks what the hell is in the drug. Bruno angrily tells Falma that there is no way they can make a cure for White Death. FMA is shocked since he needed a superpower like his magic eye to figure out what was wrong, but Bruno accomplished it the old-fashioned way. Bruno lifts his wand, just like all of you do in the morning when things get worse. To fight back, Falma makes a thick sheet of ice, which shows how strong his MC powers are. After a short talk, Falma finally convinces Bruno that the god of medicine has blessed him, which makes him almost a demigod. A little later, in the Empress's room, Falma demonstrates everyone how dangerous bacteria may be. He says that unicellular organisms go into their bodies and make them sick. Falma starts Elizabeth's treatment, which is meant to last 6 months, and it's good enough for biology class. Bruno understands that this is not the son he nurtured when they are on their way back to the Medici's home late at night. But Falma changes his mind and says that he needs to learn how to deal with patients from Bruno himself. 3 solid months go by without FMA starting Elizabeth's treatment. Falma and Bruno have been learning a lot about medicine over the past few months. In one of these meetings, Bruno says that several nobility have been trying to steal the recipe for the drug that FMA made, but he has been making excuses ever since. Falma says that normal folks can make medication even if they don't know how to do divine arts after thinking about it for a while. This upsets Bruno and makes him think deeply, as many nobility want Falma dead. That being said, they both go to the Imperial Palace for more treatment. Noah tells them that there is word spreading around the palace that Her Majesty wants to thank Falma for doing such a great job. Bruno, who is excited, asks what prize he would want. Falma says he wants to create a drugstore in the capital that serves everyone, which shocks him to his core. He enters into Elizabeth's room a little later to offer Her Majesty the therapy that was planned. Of course, the two of them began chatting about how her illness will affect the throne and her ability to reign. Falma can tell that Elizabeth feels like she has no value at all. He tells her that her son needed her the most in the last several months. Many others in the kingdom, like him, respect and need her. Look at our son standing up for a good cause. He tells her right before he leaves that people like him and Elizabeth, who have both confronted death, should learn to value the chance to live again. 3 months later, Elizabeth calls Bruno to her office for some serious business. She gives Bruno a piece of land full of medical herbs and some other backside perks. If you know what I mean. As for Falma, he is made an official royal pharmacist and is given permission to open his own drugstore right away. He has the best craftsmen in the kingdom working for him, and they hurry to come up with the best design for the store. The drugstore is built as smoothly as feasible using those detailed directions. Falma offers it a very precise name, the Parallel World Pharmacy, to make it more fascinating. A few days before the big opening, the leader of the local pharmaceutical guild comes up at the door, ready to fight. Falma treats him like a student of the craft and turns down his invitation to join the guild, which is surprising. When the fat man is backed into a corner, he tries to scare the commoners away by saying they are expensive, but it only makes Eleanor scare him away. As things calm down, Falma notices that their team doesn't have a bookkeeper. To get some advice, he goes back to the mansion, but when he gets there, he finds out that Cedric, the family's accountant, is quitting his job since his knees are becoming worse and his father has decided to fire him. Falma asks Cedric if he would still want to work if his knees could be fixed, and he nods happily. Falma goes to Bruno and asks if he may hire Cedric instead. As expected, Bruno lets his worker go. Also, he offers Falma a lot of money to say thank you. Back in the city, a lot of regular people are gathering around the new drugstore to admire how it looks and feels. But none of them are brave enough to go into the store. Eleanor says that all commoners are loyal to their local pharmacies, whereas nobles only call someone to them because they are rich. Charlotte, the maid who does everything, does a survey without anyone knowing about it. She says that most customers don't feel comfortable going into the store, and some even fear the pricing will be too high. Cedric says that they should put the prices of their goods outside the store so that people may see them after hearing the outcomes. Charlotte also says that most of the residents in the city can't even read. In the end, Falma listens to what the common people have to say and agrees that they need to adjust some things. A little while later, his mom and dad come to the store in the most obvious way. It seems like they wanted to check out the new place and see how their young pharmacist is doing. Bruno asks if regular people are using his items after the tour. Falma is honest when they say that they are having problems connecting with regular people. His mother tells him that he should introduce a line of makeup that will get ladies of all kinds interested. Bruno agrees with the idea but tells Falma that she can't use white powder since it has metals in it that shorten life. He also said that some dumb ladies have been taking blood out of their bodies to look younger. Someone comes into their living room out of nowhere and asks for medical treatment for a woman. Falma runs to the noble's carriage in a hurry, only to find a young girl who is half asleep. Using his divine eye, he sees that the girl has been having blood taken out of her body all the time. He takes her to the store and tells her she can't have any more procedures or makeup. The insane lady says that her prospective husband likes women that seem younger, which surprises everyone. Falma, who is level-headed, reminds her that being alive is more important, which is good. He finally vows to invent a new kind of cosmetics that won't hurt anyone. He spends the next week testing new sorts of organic foundations that don't have any metals in them. Thank you for watching to this point. For the anime name, check the comment section. For part 2 and more interesting anime recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got other anime recaps for you. Check our playlist or choose a video. Thanks again for watching.